You live in a farm community, you see accidents. The patient, whose name I can't recall, worked for John Deere. And in the process of repairing something, managed to stick his hand into a elevator uh, with a spiral method of moving grain. It wasn't designed for hands, and he came in, the fingers were stripped of skin with the end digit missing on a couple of them. What do you do with a hand like that, all contaminated by grain? Well, the grain ain't a natural habitat for bugs, for germs. Essentially, it's a clean wound, ain't it? Yeah, I guess so. Okay, irrigate it. Get rid of the damn grain anyway. It's a foreign object, and so you stick it in water and you rinse it. Saline, and it hurts a little less than other water. Yeah, it looks sort of clean. Oh my God, there's more particles. Get them out. Finally, clean enough. What can I do? It's got bare bone on the distal part. Gosh, I'd like to say, like, can you wiggle the bone? Yeah, the tendons are attached, the skin is gone, and the nails are gone. What can I do? Well, the skin between the fingers, maybe I can rub that and twist it around over the end. Got blood supply. So I did that. And I told him when I got it finished, you know, it's a mitten hand. You can move it, can't you? You can close it and open it. So it's a useful hand. When it heals up, then we can split the space between the fingers and graft in skin from your belly. Maybe we'll have to bury your hand in the belly to get the skin transfer done, but can be done. Well, he was a good patient and it all healed up and he got nice mobility with it. And so I talked to him about, you ready to put your hand in your belly, and there's a certain risk, of course. You may not get a good result. You can get scarring or you can get infection. What do you think? Oh, hell, Doc, he said. I can use it pretty good in my job as mechanic for John Deere, so it don't inhibit me a whole bunch. I can earn my living. Uh, ain't that what it's for? Yeah, I said, I think so. I agree with you. So he became my patient with the mitten hand. Uh, Only other thing I remember about him is he had the most useless, inefficient, incompetent uh, woman for a wife that I have ever met. I don't mean she was a person of bad character. She was just sort of not with the program at all, but he loved her to pieces and was loved back. Hey, oh, hey. Uh, Medicine is interesting. Another patient came in one day and said, Doctor, I hear voices all the time. I said, oh, that's interesting. Uh, what do the voices tell you? Do they tell you to do bad things? Oh, no, nothing like that, but I just hear voices. And I said, I happen to know that you also get restless during the night. You've been observed walking on the street in your night clothing, and that's not wise because people will say you're abnormal. The police might pick you up and put you in jail to figure out what's wrong with you. So at least you think you can change that. So if you wander around at night, that you wear clothing that's normal for daytime use. Then if the police do pick you up because you're wandering around, just have them call me and I'll explain that you're a good person and they should just take you home. But what about my voices, doctor? I says, I don't care if you have voices. That don't tell you to do anything bad. For you, that's probably normal somehow. And it's sort of maybe like dreaming or so. So what the hell? You hear voices. I don't think that's all bad. You get into trouble, you call. You have anything else that goes wrong with you, like you bust a leg or something, police come in. If you want to come and talk about your voices, that's okay too. And she got along just fine. I almost told her that it was kind of like praying, but I didn't quite dare in our religious community. Anyway, you can't imagine the kind of things you get into. Have I ever told you about the lady who wanted her husband to stay in the basement? Well, there's a condition called compulsive neuroses, and I think it sort of fits that. The husband come in and he said, Doctor, is it normal? You know, I'm married and I got a couple kids. My wife doesn't want me to come into the house. I have to go down into the basement and wait, and when supper is ready on the table, then I can come up and sit down and eat supper, and then I have to go down in the basement again. She is so concerned that I might, for example, leave a shoe loose upstairs. And I said, is that all you notice? Well, she is so fussy about how things are positioned. She has tiny marks that I can barely see on the wall, and a chair has to be perfectly aligned with that mark. If it isn't, she gets very, very uncomfortable until it is back in its proper place. And the kids, you know, are getting big enough. They have to come in the basement with me. And I said, it's not normal mentally. Your wife has a significant problem. You're normal. She is not normal. So there's nothing wrong with you, sir, or nothing wrong with your kids. Well, Doc, what the hell am I going to do about it? I said, well, I don't know. They have psychiatrists that handle this kind of problem, and some of the medications might be appropriate for her. But doctor, how do I get her to go to a doctor? I said, heaven only knows. She don't listen to you. She ain't going to listen to me. You'll have to get a court order to accomplish it. Oh my God, when we got this lady into court, she was dressed to the nines. Her behavior was perfect. She had an attorney that said, I don't see anything wrong with this lady. That isn't a virtue. And I think Dr. Molnar is crazy, and the husband is participating in it. Well, they, I said my piece and told the judge why I thought her behavior was not normal. And finally, he called the attorneys and me into chambers and said, Doctor, I see that there's a strong difference of opinion, and it's a medical opinion, not a legal one. Doctor, would you be satisfied if she went up and saw the psychiatrist at the university to either confirm or make you more comfortable with her? And I said, for Christ's sake, sir, I'd be pleased with that solution. That's exactly what I think she needs. So she, against her will, was taken up to the university to be reviewed by the psychiatric department, and things take time at universities, and for 3 weeks they thought I was dead wrong and she was perfectly normal. At the end of the 3rd week, she flipped into advanced schizophrenic thinking and was placed on medication. It ain't normal, ladies, to have little marks on the wallpaper and lining everything up with it. That's housekeeping beyond the scope of normality. So you run into interesting propositions. They have a recent one that I maybe should be off the record yet.
Okay.
The happenstance was 50 years ago, approximately. And the gentleman came in and he said, my right arm doesn't feel anything, doctor. Oh, I said, that's unusual. You move it all right? Yeah, I can move it, but I don't feel anything with it. Sudden loss of sensation of an extremity. Central nervous system. Almost has to be. Seems to be with the program. He's a farmer. He raises pigs and cows. He's even planted some trees that he thinks the land will benefit from. Pretty good, normal acting man. Infectious mononucleosis? Never seen that in a man. Must happen equally, just haven't seen one. So I said, it's possible you have something like that. It's strange. Well, doctor, what the hell are you thinking about? Well, I finally said, is this condition infectious mononucleosis or something? Don't matter much about a name, but the sensation goes, and it's somewhere up in the brain, but doctor, does it get worse? Well, I said, yes. Well, how much worse? I said, who the hell knows, sir, but it can progress rapidly, and worst case scenario, you could be in a wheelchair in a couple of years, I suppose. But it's a hard diagnosis, so the first thing I want is a consult. So I sent him to a good internist, and the internist kind of suggested maybe he had emotional mental problems rather than a diagnosis of infectious mono. How do you tell a farmer that it's all in his head? Uh, I sort of suggested we just wait and see and he go home. 50 years later, I get a letter from this man threatening my life for making a false diagnosis, for ruining his life. I have the letter, you wouldn't believe it. He also had very bad things to say about Carl. So it was a extrapolation of 50 years. He's a retired man now. His kids are out of the house and gone and who knows where. Lives with his wife in town, and I get that letter and I sat on it about a month and I composed all kinds of answers. Ended up, he also said, not only me, but there's another guy you said was going to die, and he didn't die either. Well, I happen to remember that one, and it's sort of interesting in its own way. The family called and says, Doctor, we're sure our dad is dying, and his attending physician is out of town. Will you come? So I came, and here we see this man in bed, and my God, he sure looked like he was dying, breathing with difficulty and a little bit blue. And his neck is sort of crooked, so I straightened it. He breathed a little easier. Well, I propped him up on the mattress with a pillow under the mattress. Hey, he breathed pretty good. Checked him over. Heart rate was all right. Didn't pick up on nothing. So I said, let me look at his medications. Well, I found them all. It was about 6 inches long list of medication this old guy was on, a whole bunch anyway. And I said, you know what I really think? I think old Dad forgot he took his medicine and took them again. So you watch him, and here's the things I would change on his medication just a bit. I think they're all appropriate, but the dose in this one's a little high and the dose of that one a little low, considering the age of his kidneys and his liver and stuff. But that's something your doctor can decide, and I'll just leave him a letter for it. Well, I was dead on. Daddy woke up in 24 hours, and the kids did what I told. They handled his medications, and I couldn't think what to charge, so I didn't charge. Anyway, that was the case my fresh correspondence referred to as a failure on my part, where I declared he was going to die. It's like I'd said he was going to die, and think how terrible his life had been. Hey, he didn't die. He's old enough to retire. He's maybe a bit older than I am. But the letter included trifles like he has now, he says, cancer of the stomach. By God, if he lives longer than me, he'll spit on my grave, and stuff like that. Well, there's enough implied threats, so finally I took the letter to the police department. They read it, they said, oh yeah, we know him from a lot of other things. Well, I said, if it's useful to you, I make copies and keep them. I just want him off my back, and if something happens to me, that's serious. It looks like an implied threat to me. So I'm a practical guy. I went to see my insurance lady, and I said, "Am I covered if my windows get busted by a vandal?" Yeah, I'm covered. So you never ever know in medicine the nature of people, uh, and uh, as far as I know, he recovered. But I had thought also of brain tumor and so forth. But here you got a 50-year. That's why doctors, when they retire, should move to Florida, I guess. So that's sort of the end of that story.
Here's another one that I remember. Do you remember that one?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I can't even remember that in great detail, but it essentially, let's see, yeah, I guess it cut through the abdominal wall and sliced into the liver, so that I was faced with the problem of whether I should take that half of the liver off and cauterize the surface, or whether I could stitch it across. And a cautery of the liver, hot cautery, just doesn't work very well. And I thought about, it's such a vascular organ. It's so full of little stuff that how do you ligate it? And I thought of dry ice as a equivalent cautery and got some, and it worked like magic. All of the ooze of bile disappeared. It was a dry surface, essentially. So I don't know if he ended up with a double functional liver or just one that it grew together again, but it healed without any intra-abdominal discharge of bile, and he went on his merry way with a big scar on his belly. Hey, the things you run into. It's a good thing I wasn't constrained by legal problems at that time. Did I tell you on tape about the girl I did a C-section on? That's another one of my what the hell goes on in family practice in the old days in the country, huh? Oh, I don't recall that one somehow. Let me think about it. Give me some clues.
Clues from the story, Mom, that we remember from last time we were here?
No. Was a woman and her daughter who were abused by the father. The father abused the daughter.
That's one, that
No, you can't
might have gotten sufficiently illegal that I would suppress it.
Because that's what I wrote for him, and so I'm trying to kind of come up with other reminders. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember you were telling us about a father abused his. Yeah. It was a bad abuse situation. The father abused the daughter.
Something's wrong with this damn thing.
Okay.